Hello everyone, welcome to another battle report. We're back on Fading Flames and my Orcs and Goblins are finally out. Those of you that are keen-eyed will notice that this is round 3. I did play a round 2 game, it's not yet concluded. It was quite a trying experience, to be honest with you. I played against a guy who turned up an hour late and started swearing at me and accused me of cheating and all sorts. So I'm not keen to relive that experience, if I'm completely honest. But anyway, we're into Fading Flames round 3. Funnily enough, I'm playing against the guy who provided the Warriors of the Dark Gods list that I stole to enter into the CR9 15 league. His name's Nick, lovely bloke. So I'll be playing my Orcs and Goblins list against his Warriors of the Dark Gods list, which I stole and used for my last battle report. Anyway, as always, I'm going to ask you to hit the like and subscribe buttons. We will flash up the lists and then we'll get into deployment. Okay, so we are on refused flank and the secondary objective is King of the Hill, so that basically means getting a scoring unit inside your opponent's chosen terrain piece and prevent them from getting one in yours. So this is Nick's and this is mine. Army lists then, left to right, we've got a unit of Chosen, big unit of Warriors, unit of Flayers. This is Nick's Sorcerer on Battle Shrine. The model will change later, but it doesn't matter. Unit of Chosen, bigger unit of Flayers and another unit of Chosen. The thing I really like about Nick's list is everything in it bar the Flayers and the Sorcerer is strength 6, AP 3, so it's an absolute monster killer of a list. On my side, Orc Chariot, Wolf Raiders, Feral Orcs with the Shaman. I didn't realise until recently that Feral Orcs frenzy tests, well, all frenzy tests are on a maximised roll, so that's why the Shaman is now in there. I don't want to be generating that on my Iron Orcs. Unit of Dashers, Iron Orcs with a Chief, Forest Goblin Raiders, Common Goblins with a Witch Doctor, Splatterer, another unit of Ferals, another unit of Dashers, Goblin King on a Huntsman, another unit of Raiders, and a Splatterer. Okay, quick look at Vanguards then. So I deployed my whole army before Nick, so I was going to be getting the first turn. So Wolf Riders around either side, and you can see the Flayers have moved up as well. I've left the Spider Rider Raiders here because their movement is not sufficient and there are no gaps in the middle. You can see Nick is very tightly bunched, so can't really get them anywhere. So I'm holding back with those. That's Vanguards. Okay, end of my movement 1 here then. So what am I going for here? Well, I can't take all of these units all at once. These are all absolutely savage units. So what I'm looking for is to break Nick's army into little pieces and deal with them one at a time. So I've got my Wolf Riders around the side here. And because Nick is bunched in, this is going to create a whole truckload of march tests. Some inevitably are going to fail. So I'm trying to sort of slow him down while I chip away with the Splatterers and magic spells, basically. The Dashers here actually had a chance at a charge on these Flayers here, and if they'd have got in, it would have been brilliant. I think I needed like a Swift Striding 10, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to try it because the potential gain far outweighs the likely fail. But anyway, they failed, so that's them there. So you can see I'm kind of bringing the Chariot around this side and then the King around this side, and I'm going to try for sort of pincer movements there. So that's what I'm going for. That's my movement 1. Okay, end of my turn 1 then. And I've realised partway through the end of my turn 1 I've really played my Spider Riders quite poorly here. Not really holding them back, but their placement, because I've realised that Nick can charge here and then I'm going to end up fleeing this way, hit my own unit, run through the dangerous terrain and sort of come out here. There is enough space for them to fit here, but I'm nowhere near my BSB, so that's very poor play on my part. Anyway, Magic Phase, got a Wrath of God off here, nice slow army, some march tests, maybe get some, you know, nice juicy strength 5 AP2s on this fairly small model count that Nick's got. That's what I'm going for anyway. A couple of wounds on the Chosen from the Wolf Riders, they did really well. Didn't really expect them to scratch, so to cause 2 wounds was great. And then 2 wounds on this smaller Flayer unit here from the Spider Riders. And that was my turn 1. Okay, on to Nick's movement 1 then. So Nick has absolutely, quite rightly, exploited my mistake and is charged with his flayers at the spider riders who have to run. So they have ran and one has died from the dangerous terrain, and then he has successfully redirected into the dashers here. So this is good play. He's also declared a charge with this chosen unit on the dashers here. Now this was a long charge, he needed like a 10 or an 11, but I still think this is really good play because he's failed the charge, but the distance is so great that I don't have the opportunity to exploit it. So he's taken a chance that has no real downside, and he's seen that, so credit to him for that. Warriors couldn't march. They failed a march test. No BSB in this army is one of its weaknesses. So that was that. And then apart from that, it was a general sort of advance forward, really. He also lashed off a few feral orcs over here with these flayers as well. So that's Nick's movement 1. Okay, end of Nick's turn 1 here then. So in the magic phase, my comet didn't come down, so another counter there, and then Nick's actually got a comet of his own off as well. This could get pretty ugly, couldn't it? Pretty quickly with all these comets coming down potentially. He's also miscast on his 444, but he's on 555 because it's thaumaturgy, but no wounds, so he's got away with that. The flayers beat the dashers, as you would expect, but then failed their restraint and ran into the iron orcs. Uh-oh, that is not a good place to be if you're a flayer. And that is the end of Nick's turn 1. Okay, on to my movement 2 here then. So the feral orcs here have failed their frenzy check on the flayers, but the flayers have run, and so that's how they are there. Dashers over here have rallied, and the spiders have rallied, and of course they can then move from after rallying, so they've kind of found a little space for themselves in there. Chariot, a little bit further around, but got to be careful. Can't get as far over here as I want to, because then I open up myself to a charge from the chosen, so got to play the waiting game, wait for the chance to get around here. Spider, king, and dashers out of the charge arc over here, and then the wolf riders continuing that with that march blocking, and that's my movement 2. Okay, on to my turn 2 here then. So Nick's comet has come down, and it's an absolute belter with a radius of 11 inches. So it's killed the 2 dashers, it's killed 1 feral orc, it's killed an iron orc, it's killed 6 goblins, it's killed 6 of the 10 flayers that were here, and it's killed the 3 flayers that were just over here as well. So an absolute belter of Wrath of God, actually, isn't it? The technically correct name. My magic phase then, I have got off a totemic beast here, chaffing up this unit there. I've also got a cleansing fire off on my goblin king over here, and then in the shooting phase, the Goblin King has killed a chosen. The Wolf Riders have done a wound on the chosen. The Catapults have done 2 wounds on the Sorcerer. And the Iron Orcs have killed the Flayers. And that is the end of my turn 2. Okay, end of Nick's movement 2 here then. So the Chosen here have failed a charge on the Feral Orcs, and I had placed the Feral Orcs sort of 9-10 inch charge away, plus obviously the 5 movement that the Chosen have got, with the intention of baiting Nick in and playing the probability game, because of course that failed charge doesn't give him as much of a move forward as the march, and so that's going to give me more time to chip away at him, though of course it is risky because there's always the chance that he rolls high. Chosen here have also failed a march test, and the Sorcerer here has failed a march test as well, so the march test strategy working out pretty well. And then of course he's charged the totemic beast over here, and that's Nick's movement 2. Okay, end of Nick's turn 2 here then. So I've activated my first binding scroll, preventing Nick from casting Dance Macabre, because I don't want this army lurching forwards too quickly. He's got off another Wrath of God, or Comet of Cassandora, whichever you prefer to call it. He's then got Marked for Doom off. He's put 3d6 into the casting attempt. I've put 5d6 into the dispel attempt, and it's gone through anyway. And he's done a wound on the king. He's then cast Hellfire on the king, I've got my 3 up armor save because my ghostly guard doesn't work against magical attacks, but I do have the reroll anyway. But a wound has gone through nonetheless. He smashed the totemic beast, as you would expect with the Chosen, and that was the end of Nick's turn 2. Okay, on to my movement 3 here then. So no charges in my movement 3. This is a very restrained behaviour for an orc and goblin list, particularly one with big blocks of feral orcs in it, but there you have it. Raiders over here chaffing up the Chosen means that the chariot can get round. Dashers and Goblin King now getting into position for a sort of supporting charges later on, and the Wolf Riders continuing to instigate those march checks, and that's my movement 3. Okay, end of my turn 3 here then. So my Wrath of God has come down over here. We've done a wound on the Chosen over here, and then 4 wounds on the Warriors and a wound on the Chosen over here. In the magic phase, I've also got Smite the Unbeliever off on these Chosen because they're fairly close to my Iron Orcs here, and I don't want them putting a dent in my Iron Orcs. I mean, they could even beat my Iron Orcs, to be fair. So just handicapping them a little bit. Wolf Riders also done a wound on the Chosen, and then the Splatterer has done a wound on the Sorcerer as well. My army doesn't have a great ranged output, so I am sort of scratching away at Nick's army here, but I'm fairly happy with what I'm getting out of that, considering how little I'm able to actually put into it. So that's the end of my 3. All right, on to Nick's movement 3 here then. So the Battle Shrine has failed another March test, and the absence of a BSB really kind of coming into play there. And then obviously a couple of charges here on the Raiders. I thought this was a clever charge in a way, because by getting his Warriors in here on the Raiders, he forces his Chosen further left, but it's not quite enough to overrun into the chariot. The straight line down there will keep the chariot safe. Potentially also exposing the Warriors. The distance is not great there, but anyway, we'll see what happens there. Ignoring the threat of the Dashers and the wounded King over here, which is interesting. And that's Nick's movement 3. Okay, end of Nick's turn 3 here then. So the Comet has not come down, so we've got another token there. I've used my second binding scroll on Touch of the Reaper because I don't want him killing off my BSB. I think retrospectively this was a mistake because Nick had card number 2, so he only had 6 power dice against my 5 dispel dice. I perhaps should have actually saved my binding scroll for later and just accepted that Nick was probably going to cast another Comet, and saved my dispel dice for Touch of the Reaper. But anyway, hindsight is a wonderful thing. In the magic phase, Nick would actually end up getting no spells through from some shocking casting rolls, and then his Warriors and Chosen would kill the Spider Riders, the Chosen overrunning and the Warriors reforming. Now this creates an interesting hinge point moment in the game, because if I activate my War Cry, this is a 9-inch charge here, so if I activate my War Cry, then the Ferals are guaranteed to be in because they have a champion in the unit. Question is, will the Iron Orcs get in as well? If they do, then we've got a really good fight on our hands here. If they don't, then my Feral Orcs and my General are pretty screwed. So we will see what happens there, but a big moment coming up in the game, and that's the end of Nick's turn 3. Okay, so I've activated my War Cry in my turn 4, and that restraint is over now. Time to go in. So Iron Orcs with the War Cry are Swift Stride, Movement, Advance 5, so they have made it in along with the Feral Orcs, so this is pretty bad news for the Warriors over here. Not gone in with the Chariot, because if the Chariot were to die, and it might die against, even on the flank against 2 Chosen, then that would give Nick a free reform in my turn, and then he could charge me. So holding off here until it gives Nick no advantage if I lose. Wolf Riders down here, this unit Chosen can't quite get past, meaning it can't get a flank charge on the Iron Orcs. Failed the charge here with the Feral Orcs. I'd wanted to go in with a three-way combo on this chosen unit with the Dashers and the King in at the back and then the Ferals in at the front, but they failed a Swift Striding 7, so that was Swift Striding 8 maybe? Anyway, a charge they were more than evens likely to pass, so a little bit frustrated there. And that's the end of my movement 4. Okay, end of my turn 4 here then. So the Comet has not come down, we've got another marker there, and then I've got Awaken the Beast off on my Iron Orcs. Now this is a big deal, because Iron Orcs are Strength 4, AP 1 as standard, Strength 5, AP 2 with Born to Fight, and now with Awaken the Beast they're Strength 6, AP 3, which means I can use my paired weapons, so I'm hitting him on 3s instead of 4s, and I'm wounding him on 2s because of all those strength buffs, and he doesn't get his armor save because he's got great weapons himself, so he's just got his plate armor, so that actually makes quite a bit of difference. I've also got Smite the Unbeliever off on the Warriors, so just hampering them in the process as well. Splatterers failing to wound the Sorcerer. I've rolled so many 1s in this game, although they have hit more than they should, but wounded less than they should, so I suppose that kind of balances out. The Iron Orcs rather, and the Feral Orcs are were successful against the Warriors. The Feral Orcs, who are still swift striding because of the war cry, have then caught and chased the Iron Orcs, and of course are now in the secondary objective scoring piece. Bit of a mistake with the Iron Orcs here, reforming them to face this way. Should have angled it more this way, because these Chosen can hit the walls and overrun out of my charge arc potentially. King and the Dashers went in, did a valiant job, did quite a bit of damage, but utterly died in the process, and therefore no break test on these Chosen, despite doing more damage to them than they did to me. And that's the end of my turn 4. All right, end of Nick's 4 here then. So his Chosen have charged at the Goblins. Now this is a charge he will probably fail, but if I stay and he doesn't, then I'll lose my Witch Doctor and my Goblins. So I'm figuring distance is on my side here. I've got a couple of goes at rallying on a 6, so I've elected to flee, and he has redirected into the Feral Orcs. And he's taken no damage from the charging through the ruins either, so that's that. Charging the Wolf Riders over here, and then reforming with the Chosen over here. And then the Sorcerer just sort of moving around at the back here. And that's Nick's movement 4. Okay, end of Nick's 4 here then. So Wrath of God has come down here, the one that had been building up for ages, and it's been another whopper of a hit. It's killed 6 goblins, it's done 3 wounds to the Splatter over here. It did 2 wounds to the Feral Orcs, but critically it did 6 wounds to the Chosen. And this is why I'm not a big fan of Wrath of God. It's unreliable. Is it coming down this turn? Is it coming down next turn? Things change in the game. Will it hit me? Will it hit my opponent? So I really feel that the Wrath of God has worked in my favour here, despite being Nick's spell. So I did take Wrath of God myself in this game because I figured Nick had multiple small units, but yeah, I'm not a fan overall. So that was that. Hellfire did 1 wound on the Wolf Riders. It is of course AP 0, and they have a 4-up save with their shields, so only 1 wound there. And then he's got a Dance Macabre off on the Sorcerer over here. The Chosen over here beat but did not catch the Wolves, who fled through the Feral Orcs, who were over here at the time, and the Feral Orcs beat the 3 remaining Chosen post Wrath of God, but didn't catch that one there. And that's the end of Nick's turn 4. On to my movement 5 then. So the Feral Orcs over here have charged at the 1 fleeing Chosen, and they have caught him and therefore reformed. The Wolves didn't rally, and so are heading towards a Splatterer, potentially generating a panic test in the Splatter if I'm not mistaken. And the Witch Doctor's unit didn't rally, and they really surged towards the end of the board here. I was expecting to get 3 attempts at the rally, but it's looking like it's only going to be 2 attempts now. And then the Iron Orcs here into the rear of the Chosen. Lucky that they didn't overrun out of my charge arc there. I've got away with some poor play. And then the Chariot into the side of the Chosen here because there's no disadvantage to this charge now. So that's my movement 5. Okay, end of my 5 here then. So I've cast Awaken the Beast Resilience version, buffing the resilience of my Chariot here because I'm in combat with these Chosen, and even 2 have 6 attacks at strength 6, AP 3. I've also cast Break the Spirit on this unit with 4 dice, but he has successfully dispelled that with 3 dice. So that was the magic phase. Splatterers killed the Sorcerer, glad that he's gone. Then the Chariot lost combat. It did 1 wound from its impact hits and nothing from all of its attacks, which is shocking really when you think there's 2 Orcs on there who both have lances and then 2 Boars who have devastating charge as well. So the Chosen have reformed there, and it's bad news for the Chariot. That's the end of the road for the Chariot. And the Iron Orcs over here have beaten the Chosen whose rear they were in. And have I think they beat them and caught them, and therefore had to run through the ruins, and I think a couple died from dangerous terrain, and that's the end of my 5. Okay, end of Nick's turn 5 here then. There was no movement because he only has the 1 unit left on the board, and it was locked in combat, and you can see it's killed the Chariot, and that's the end of Nick's turn 5. Okay, end of my movement 6 here then. So 7 Chosen still present a very dangerous threat for a unit of Feral Orcs with a Shaman and no BSB, so just bringing the Wolf Riders here, sacrificial pawn and seeing out the game. Wolf Riders over here have rallied, but the Witch Doctor and his entourage have ran off the board down here, so that's the end of them. That's the end of my movement 6. End of my turn 6 here then. So Swarm of Insects off on the Chosen, killed our Chosen, and the Splatterer over here broke down. This one missed, and that's the end of my 6. Okay, into Nick's movement 6 then. We're in the dying moments of the game here. Just a quick charge on these Wolf Riders, take the extra 135, I think it is, points that are available there. That's Nick's movement 6. And then into Nick's 6, and you can see he has, as you would expect, smashed through the Raiders, and that's the end of the game. Nick would score 1,650 points. I would score 3,920 points. That's a difference of 2,270. So that's a 16-4 in my favour. However, I've also got the secondary objective, and so that becomes a 19-1 in my favour. I think I made a number of small errors over the course of the game. The positioning of the Iron Orcs, I got really lucky to get away with that. I did also wonder whether I should have gone 6 wide with the Iron Orcs and or the Feral Orcs. I don't think I had enough models in either unit to withstand the onslaught of a potential Chosen charge and get the benefit of being in line formation, but maybe 6 wide would have given me a few extra attacks. Failed to use my scouts with my Goblin Raiders as well. There was a great big space at the back over here at the start, and I completely forgot that they had scout, which was very silly. Wasted my second scroll as well on Touch of the Reaper when Nick only had 1 more power die than I had dispel dice. I should have probably kept that. And then the placement of my Spider Riders, causing them to end up running through the ruins, was unnecessary. That being said, I think there were some things I did well. I think I baited and delayed Nick's army with, you know, some longer charges that he was likely to fail, and some good use of my Wolf Riders, so pretty happy with that. And then I was able to chaff up certain parts of the army while dealing with others. I don't think Wrath of God is as good as Trial of Faith, and I don't see that I will be using it too often. I got really lucky with the Flayers as well. The Flayers running into the Iron Orcs was pretty comical. And then at the end as well, when Wrath of God did more damage to Nick than me, I suppose that was pretty lucky as well. So think I got unlucky with the Chariot. I think the Chariot should have probably broken the unit of Chosen on the side, but that is the risk when you go in against a big, scary unit like Chosen. Anyway, that was it, guys. Thank you for staying all this time. I appreciate you hanging around. Next game is coming up at the weekend, so yeah, see you same time next week, I hope.